About 1,000 years ago, a city in the middle of what is now the United States had a population of at least 25,000, making it larger than London, Paris, or Rome at the time. Yet few Americans today have even heard of this place. This is the story of Cahokia and the Mississippian culture. On the east bank of the Mississippi River, across from modern-day St. Louis, Cahokia quickly grew into a major city, going from a population of 2,000 to over 25,000 in just 50 years.
Because of the development of corn, squash, pumpkin, beans, so all this really intense agriculture was happening at Cahokia, mainly because it's some of the most fertile lands in the country. It contributed to a population growth. Some of the theories that discuss the reason why so many people came to Cahokia was there was a kind of spiritual, religious explosion where all these different tribes, all these different groups of indigenous people wanted to converge onto Cahokia.
But Cahokia wasn't an isolated city. It was the center of a large trading network stretching thousands of miles that used rivers for transportation.
There was shells from the Gulf of Mexico. There was copper from the Great Lakes region. There was just all these different tools, and there was different artifacts that they found that just contribute to the idea that Cahokia was the epicenter of trade and commerce and culture. Everyone who was anyone at that time just converged on Cahokia and wanted to share all the things that they had.
Many tribes with distinct cultures were considered Mississippians, sharing some common practices and beliefs that bound them together. One was the building of mounds. The largest was in Cahokia and has been called Monk's Mound. It is 100 feet tall. The base of 15 acres, so about 10 football fields, is bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. This would be the tallest man-made structure in the U.S. for 800 years. Hundreds of other large mounds were built as far away as Alabama and Ohio.
It wasn't just Cahokia, but Cahokia was kind of the epicenter of this activity, and they all served a variety of functions. Some of them were burial mounds. Some of them were also used as temple mounds, meaning whoever the spiritual leaders of that community were, they lived on top of them, and they lived in what they would call temples, and they were used as kind of more for ceremonial purposes. Particularly Monk's Mound had a defensive palisade constructed around it, so that demonstrates the fact that there was a separation between some of the regular inhabitants and those who were deemed a little bit more important in Cahokian society.
Cahokia was not dominated by one tribe. Like many urban areas, Cahokia had a diverse population.
Some of the findings have determined that up to 20 to 30% of the native inhabitants there possibly came from the East Coast. There were many different tribes who descended from Cahokia.
Though it quickly grew into a large and prosperous city, Cahokia did not endure. Its population peaked around the year 1200, and by 1350, it had been abandoned. One theory is that a change in climate reduced crop output to the point where the population could not be supported. But with no written records or other definitive evidence, the reason remains a mystery. Though Cahokia had a relatively short stint as a major urban area, its success still has meaning with indigenous people in the U.S. today.
I think being Wajaje, being Osage, and the fact that we have ancestors who were there, I think there's a certain kind of pride in that accomplishment, and looking to it as a place of inspiration, and knowing that Native people are capable of all these greater things than what we have been told through the typical U.S. history narrative that Native people were just all one group. So I think, to me, it's also this kind of a spiritual and cultural connection that inspires me to continue doing what I do.